In this particular position, Black, who's one of the players from Madison, notices that if they can get the queen to that square right there, it'll be checkmate. But the problem is that the bishop is protecting that square right there. So what Black did was move the rook next to the bishop like that, trying to move the bishop out of the way to stop protecting that square. White actually fell for it and captured Black's rook for free, but at the expense of being checkmated. During the Washington Chess Club, one of the players at Washington realized there was an even better move that Black could have made. And instead of sacrificing the rook here, Black can put the rook all the way down at the end, put the king in check. The only way that White can get out of it is blocking it, and then either the rook or the queen can capture the bishop, and it's checkmate. This is a good example of why studying puzzles helps chess players to become better, because as chess players study more puzzles, they begin to see more and more possibilities like that on the chessboard. The next example I would like to show is from another game from Madison. And in this particular position, you can see that White has an electric fence along that rank right there. And Black cannot move into check, so Black is stuck on that last rank. All White has to do is move the bishop out of the way like this, and it's checkmate.
Again.
There's nothing Black can do to escape. However, White doesn't realize that and ends up moving the queen out to put the king in check.
Your mummy know you're checking
Black
strange computers?
moves the king over one square, and there's a one-move checkmate right here for White. All White has to do is put the queen in front of the king, and it's a checkmate. So anytime you have the queen directly in front or beside of the king, being backed up by another piece, it is a checkmate. And that's one of the most common checkmates that I see. And it doesn't matter if it's a rook or a bishop or a knight or a pawn or another king. As long as that queen is backed up, then it's going to be a checkmate. So this is a position. Black was Madison player on board 4, and I wasn't sure if the Madison player knew how to get a checkmate in this game. Black actually did get a checkmate, and when I asked the player how he knew how to do that, he said he watched my YouTube videos, which I thought was really awesome because the YouTube videos on my YouTube channel do show how to get a checkmate in this position. So I don't know exactly what Black did, but this is an example of how Black could play this. So in this position, Black has an electric fence here and here. And I call this area inside of the electric fence the playpen. And the idea of checkmating with a queen is to try to squeeze your opponent into as small of an area as possible without stalemating, and then delivering the final checkmate. And the way to do that is to try to keep the queen a knight's move away from the king. So if the king were to move to this square, for example, Black would simply move the queen there to keep the king a knight's move away. So if the king moved here, also a knight's move away, then Black's king gets involved and continues to get involved until White has no choice but to move against the edge of the board. Once the king is on the edge of the board, then it's important to have the queen set up an electric fence as far away from the king as possible. So a great move here would be to put the queen here, again, setting up the electric fence, and then the queen just waits as the king gets in on the action, and then as soon as the queen can go directly in front of the king and be backed up by the other king, it's checkmate. So here is checkmate. And that's basically how black ended up winning the game. This was a Madison player playing somebody from Canterbury School, and Canterbury is really good. And this is a textbook example of how to defend against the matrix. So Madison was white here, and so white, which is Madison, goes in for the 4-move checkmate. And when you see your opponent move the queen out early in the game, you know that there's probably going to be a 4-move checkmate coming. Black defends it perfectly. And when the queen is brought out on the second move, the best way for black to respond is by moving this knight here on the B square out to that square right there, protecting the pawn. Now white moved the bishop out, classic 4-move checkmate, and here black attacks the queen. Again, textbook way of defending against the 4-move checkmate. Now, white was so excited about getting pieces in the right place that white ended up capturing the pawn, thinking that there was going to be a fork between the king and the rook, but black played well and defended that square, and black ended up taking white's queen and then ended up winning the game. And white tried the matrix against the Washington player. So here we have the first 2 moves
all the time.
And then in the second move, white ends up putting the queen on f3. And the queen is attacking right there. And if white gets the bishop to c4, the matrix can still be performed by moving the queen to f7, being backed up by the bishop on c4. So I'm not sure if white or black knew exactly how to play, because an easy way to block that when the king is on f3 is to just take the knight and just block, and there's no way that white's going to be able to do the 4-move checkmate. Black ended up moving the knight to c6. So then white then gets the bishop ready so that the 2 pieces can come down on f7 to do the 4-move checkmate. But black ends up putting the knight in the way and ends up blocking the 4-move checkmate. So nice move to the Washington player on that. 2 other things I would like to mention. One of the players from Washington and one of the players from Madison in the 3rd and under teams both lost their queens early in the game. And rather than giving up and not trying, the 2 of them were able to fight back in their games, end up taking the advantage away from their opponents, and ended up checkmating their opponents as well. So if you lose your queen early in the game, don't get too discouraged. Just make sure you keep fighting and playing hard, and a lot of times you'll be able to get back into the game and possibly even take your opponent's queen back and end up getting the win. It happened twice last weekend. So great job, everybody. Hope this video helps you, and good luck at your next tournament.